Well, I've been casting lures for more years than I care to remember, certainly since I was a teenager, and I'm still doing it now. And the reason is, it's just great fun. I've caught so many fish. It's brought me so many years of pleasure. And it's really something that anybody can do, but it can be dangerous for you and the fish if you don't do it properly. Remember the sharp hooks involved, the sharp teeth, but it is quite easy once you've got the right tackle to get into lure fishing and really enjoy it without too much trouble. You'll get lots of advice thrown at you about how to start. Most of it is quite sound really, and I'll tell you how I would start if I was someone setting out with no idea of lure fishing. You just want to get involved. Now the first thing to do is to get a rod. You can get rods from budget level right through to some really expensive rods, a couple of £100. But to get started, I'll just buy something at budget level, something like the Shimano Vengeance AX. I mean, for less than £30, it's a fantastic general purpose lure rod to start with. Brilliant for pike, zander, for perch, and even for sea fishing, if you want to do that sort of fishing. So this is a rod of about 7.5 feet long, rated for casting lures at 20 to 60 grams. And it's important that you choose your rod by the rating. The rating is the casting weight that it will cast. And if you look on the boxes of the lures you buy, on the packaging, it will tell you the weight of each lure. And 20 to 60 grams covers most of the popular lures used for general lure fishing today. Now I've chosen a budget price rod, but something I wouldn't skimp on is a reel. You can get some lovely budget price reels to get you started, but for me, the pleasure comes from using a real quality reel with smooth bearings, a nice forgiving clutch. Something like the Airnos 4000 FA. This is what I've teamed up with the Vengeance rod, and to me this is a brilliant combination. And I'm recommending this to you as a beginner, but as a professional angler, I use this all the time. Lovely setup. The next thing I'm going to talk about is the line. Now, if you look closely, you'll see I'm using a braided line. And braided lines have been popular now for many, many years. If you go back 15 years or so, everybody was using mono. But mono has got a lot of problems. The main problem with mono is that it has got a lot of stretch, probably 20–25% stretch. And that means that when a pike or any other predator takes your lure, it's got every chance of bouncing off and the hook not setting. Braid is different. Braid has got almost no stretch at all, and as soon as a pike or another predator grabs that lure, there's no stretch there for it to bounce off and the hook will go straight in. And I know that I am catching many, many, many more fish on braided lines nowadays than I used to do on mono lines in the past. There's lots of them out there on the market. The two I'm using at the moment, and those I would recommend, are those in the Power Pro and Suffix 832 range. These are brands that I've trusted now for quite a few years, and I use them in all the breaking strains, right from £20 right up to £65. And you'll probably be wondering what breaking strain to team up with this setup. Well, I would say if you're fishing a water that's not got many snags, the fish are quite average size, £20 is fine. But if you find the fish are running a bit bigger, there may be weed and some snags, step it up to £30 breaking strain. And if it's really snaggy, there might be rocks, sunken branches, I'd go up to £50 breaking strain. Here's another great thing about braided line. It's so easy to tie a reliable knot. Now, when we were using mono lines, a typical breakage would come at the knot. And the knot strength for mono is not that reliable, to be honest. But I find with a braided line, it's not only easy to tie the knot, it's a very reliable knot. I won't go into detail over how to do it, but this is a knot that you'll find anywhere just do a search on the internet. It's in magazines all over the place. It's a 5-turn grinner. I've gone through the swivel twice. I've made a loop like so. I've gone round the loop 2, 3, 4, 5 times. I've pulled it tight, and I've just pulled that gently to the swivel, and there's no need to even pull it any harder than that. That is a locking knot. That will not break under any circumstances. Just leave about 5mm tag, and that's ready to go. That is a really reliable nut. I would stake my life on that not letting me down unless I was pulling against a really heavy object like a sunken tree. Wire trace is essential for fish with teeth, and the wire you choose depends upon what you're fishing for. If you're fishing for perch, chub, you'll probably want quite a fine wire, maybe a 7-strand uncoated wire. But for pike fishing generally, I use 30-pound breaking strain coated wire. Very, very durable. And the clip, again, I use quite a hefty clip. I'm very wary of clips opening, and I go for something that's really strong and reliable. Again, there's no need to go into detail. There's loads of ready-made traces out there that you can pick up, but just make sure they are good quality. And that's it really. You've got your rod, your reel and your line and your trace, and you're ready to go lure fishing. Now the only other thing I need to tell you about is the lures, and there are just thousands of lures to choose from. Well, don't be confused. It's easy to get confused. Just start off with something simple, and there's 2 lures that I would recommend to you if you're brand new to lure fishing, you've never been before. Just go out with a simple spinner, something like a Blue Fox Vibrax, and a small soft plastic like the Storm live kicking perch. If you don't buy any other lures, buy those 2 to get you started. They've just got 1 treble. There's nothing else to get caught in your hands. There's no flying trebles. The only hook will be in the fish, and they're very easy to take the hooks out. So that's it really. There's only one more thing I'd recommend, and that is a decent pair of Polaroids, because when you're bringing the lure in, quite often you'll see the fish following, and if it doesn't take the lure and you've seen it, you've got a chance to cast back to it and get it again. So I'm off to do a bit more fishing. I hope that's given you enough information to get you started, and you never know, like me, you might be doing it for years and years to come in the future.